Life is full of challenges, obstacles, and setbacks. But it's how we respond to those difficulties that determines our success or failure. Today I'm here to issue a challenge to dominate, to take control of your life, to seize opportunity, and to become the master of your destiny. Because at the end of the day, the only one standing in your way is you. Let me share a story with you. Once there was a young man who had big dreams. He wanted to be a champion boxer, but he came from nothing, raised in poverty with the odds stacked against him. Everyone told him he was crazy, that he'd never make it. But this young man had fire in his belly. He refused to be held back by his circumstances or the negative voices around him. He trained relentlessly, sacrificing everything. While his friends were out partying, he was in the gym, pounding away at a heavy bag until his knuckles bled. When hunger pain struck because he couldn't afford another meal that day, he drank a glass of salt water to kill the hunger so he could keep training. The years of sweat, tears, and unwavering determination paid off. That young man went on to become one of the greatest boxers of all time. His name? Rocky Marciano. 51 professional fights, 49 knockouts, and he retired as the heavyweight champion of the world without a single defeat.
You know, I went through how the conscious mind works, how the subconscious, and how the body is an expression of the mind. And as you go through that, if you go through it a few times, you're going to see, yeah, that's exactly what happens. Now, I want you to think of this for a moment. When you impress an idea upon your subconscious mind, that alters the vibration of this instrument we call our body. See, our body is a molecular structure. Really what it is. It's a massive energy in a very high speed of vibration. Now, we invented a word to describe our conscious awareness of vibration, and that word is feeling. If you ask a person, you know, how are you today? They'll say, well, I'm feeling fine, or I don't feel that good, I feel great. You never hear a person say, oh, I'm consciously aware of being emotionally involved with a negative idea, so therefore I've moved into a negative vibration. But that's exactly what happens. So, you see, as we start to understand this, and we become aware that we're not feeling too good, we can change it. Now, it takes a little training, but you can do it. We are really in charge of how we feel. Now, we let other people upset us, but we don't have to let other people upset us. We don't need to react to them. We can respond. We can listen to what they're saying, and they say, well, you're entitled to your opinion, but that's just not what I'm like. And we can hold our own idea of ourselves. You see, it's important that we grasp how the mind works and that we understand the relationship of the body to the mind and the mind to the body. Now, it's our results that we want to change. Now, our results could be in our physical body. It may want to be, you may want to cast off a few pounds. You may want to put on a couple of pounds. You may want to have a little higher energy. See, all the energy there ever was or ever will be is 100% evenly present in all places at the same time. Everything's energy. You know, you'll hear people say, where does he get all the energy? Where does she get all the... Nobody gets energy. Everybody releases energy.
I'd like to tell you about the strangest secret in the world. Some years ago, the late Nobel Prize-winning Dr. Albert Schweitzer was being interviewed in London, and a reporter asked him, Doctor, what's wrong with men today? And the great doctor was silent a moment, and then he said, men simply don't think. It's about this that I want to talk with you. We live today in a golden age. This is an era that man has looked forward to, dreamed of, and worked toward for thousands of years. But since it's here, we pretty well take it for granted. We in America are particularly fortunate to live in the richest land that ever existed on the face of the earth, a land of abundant opportunity for everyone. But do you know what happens? Well, let's take 100 men who start even at the age of 25. Do you have any idea what will happen to those men by the time they're 65? These 100 men who all start even at the age of 25 believe they're going to be successful. If you asked any one of these men if he wanted to be a success, he'd tell you he did. And you'd notice that he was eager toward life, that there was a certain sparkle to his eye, an erectness to his carriage, and life seemed like a pretty interesting adventure to him. But by the time they're 65, 1 will be rich. 4 will be financially independent. 5 will still be working. 54 will be broke. Now think a moment. Out of the 100, only 5 make the grade. Now why do so many fail? What has happened to the sparkle that was there when they were 25? What's become of the dreams, the hopes, the plans? And why is there such a large disparity between what these men intended to do and what they actually accomplished? When we say about 5% achieve success, we have to define success. And here's the best definition I've ever been able to find. Success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. If a man is working toward a predetermined goal and knows where he's going, that man is a success. If he's not doing that, he's a failure. Success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal.
Why do I share this story? Because it perfectly encapsulates what it takes to dominate: an unshakable spirit, laser-focused discipline, and the will to overcome any obstacle in your path. Rocky could have given up 1,000 times, but he dominated his mind, his body, and ultimately his opposition. So my opening salvo to you today is this: identify your Rocky Marciano spirit. Locate that burning desire for greatness within you, because trust me, it's there. That hunger, that refusal to be denied. In the words of the ancient philosopher Epictetus, first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. Declare your intentions out loud if you have to. I will dominate in my career. I will dominate as a parent. I will dominate in my studies. Whatever your aim, plant that flag and commit to it. Because words have power. Speaking your goals into existence is the first step toward achieving them. Of course, it's one thing to say, I will dominate. It's another to actually do it. And that's where discipline enters the equation. Discipline is the bridge between your intentions and your accomplishments. It's doing the hard things day after day when no one is watching. It's making the smart choices, not the easy ones. Think back to Rocky's training regimen. That's the essence of discipline. While others were partying and cutting corners, Rocky was in the gym, putting in the work, drilling the fundamentals over and over until they became ingrained habits. That's what champions do.
Desire is the triggering mechanism that lets the energy flow. Now, let's go back and have a quick review. Here you've got the little stick person here. There you've got the conscious mind, and remember, you have the sensory factors hooked up to the conscious mind. And then you have the subconscious mind, and then you have the body. Now, the conscious mind has the ability to choose thoughts. Those thoughts turn into pictures. We turn the pictures over to the subconscious mind, and then the subconscious mind expresses the action. All right? Now, what is the problem? Remember, we said the subconscious mind had no ability to reject. We said the subconscious mind cannot differentiate between what's real and what's imagined. How did we arrive on the scene? I'll tell you. When you arrived on the scene, you did not have any conscious faculties developed. The sensory factors weren't even developed. This is how you arrived. That's called the little life. That's the baby. No conscious mind. So there's the subconscious mind. It's wide open. You can put anything in it. You see, your subconscious mind is programmed genetically. That's why we look like our relatives. It's built right into the genes at birth. But then we're programmed environmentally. Carl Mendiger from the Mendiger Foundation in Topeka one time said, environment is more important than heredity. Why do you think you speak the language you speak? You speak that language because you were surrounded by people that speak that language in your little life. And the language just went right into the subconscious mind. If you grew up in a home that was bilingual, you learned both languages. I had an associate over in Kuala Lumpur, had a little boy, he spoke 4 languages at 4 years of age. And you'd look at that and you'd say, my gosh. No. The baby was programmed. Why do you like the food you like? It's programming.
Rollo May, the distinguished psychiatrist, wrote a wonderful book called Man's Search for Himself. And in this book he says, the opposite of courage in our society is not cowardice. It is conformity. And there you have the trouble today. It's conformity. People acting like everyone else without knowing why, without knowing where they're going. Now think of it. In America right now, there are over 18 million people 65 years of age and older. And most of them are broke. They're dependent on someone else for life's necessities. Now, we learn to read by the time we're 7. We learn to make a living by the time we're 25. Usually by that time, we're not only making a living, we're supporting a family. And yet, by the time we're 65, we haven't learned how to become financially independent in the richest land that has ever been known. Why? We conform. And the trouble is that we're acting like the wrong percentage group, the 95 who don't succeed. Now, why do these people conform? Well, they really don't know. These people believe that their lives are shaped by circumstances, by things that happen to them, by exterior forces. They're outer-directed people. A survey was made one time that covered a lot of men, working men, and these men were asked, why do you work? Why do you get up in the morning? 19 out of 20 had no idea. If you ask them, they'll say, well, everyone goes to work in the morning, and that's the reason they do it, because everyone else is doing it. Now, let's get back to our definition of success. Who succeeds? The only person who succeeds is the person who is progressively realizing a worthy ideal.
In my decades of studying successful people from all walks of life, I've found one universal truth. Those who dominate have disciplined themselves to make better choices consistently than the masses around them. They've harnessed the power of good habits and routines. So I challenge you today to audit your daily disciplines. What are the little things you can start doing differently, a little bit better each day? It could be as simple as waking up 30 minutes earlier to review your goals and get mentally prepared for domination. Or committing to learning one new thing each day about your craft. Reading books, taking classes, finding a mentor. Perhaps it's cutting out toxic influences like hours of mindless TV or negative social media and replacing them with positive inputs that feed your mind and soul. Because here's the reality. If you want to dominate in any area of your life, you must dominate the small arenas first. As Aristotle said, we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. Winning starts with a small, diligent, disciplined steps forward each day. Speaking of winning, let's address another critical element of domination, developing a winner's mindset. Because the truth is, most people are their own biggest obstacle to success. Their self-doubt, their fear of failure, their lack of confidence, these are dream killers. But not for you. Not anymore. From this day forward, you must reject the negative voices in your head. Silence that inner critic that tells you you're not good enough, smart enough, talented enough. Because here's what I know for certain, those voices are lying to you. Take a look at the great achievers throughout history. Did Rocky Marciano listen to naysayers telling him he'd never make it as a boxer? Of course not. Did the Wright brothers accept that humans weren't designed to fly? No way. Did Thomas Edison believe the dozens of people who told the light bulb was an impossible dream? Absolutely not. These men and countless others like them succeeded precisely because they refused to take no for an answer.
Now, let's stop and think about the environment we were raised in. Here's the baby, and look at the ideas and the thoughts and the concepts that are going on around that baby are going right into that baby's subconscious mind. Now, through repetition, over and over and over again, and remember, the baby's getting it all day, all week, every week, all month, every month, all year, and this goes on for 4 or 5 years. And the baby reaches the age of 4 or 5 where they can start to think that baby's programmed. That baby is programmed to think like the people it had been surrounded by. If the people that surrounded that baby had gone right through school, the baby will probably grow up and go right through school. If the people that were surrounding that baby always lived in hard times, never had any money, always in debt, that's probably how that baby's going to grow up. Now, this is bizarre, but this is how it happens. It's how it happens for me. I was raised during a depression. We didn't have any money. There was always talk about no money. You should be satisfied with what you've got. Well, that's not true. You should never be satisfied with what you've got. You should be happy with what you've got. Dissatisfaction is actually a creative state. So here we have now a baby that has been programmed. Now, let's take and think for a moment. What happens when that baby starts to think for itself? Now think of this. The paradigm controls the vibration. The vibration controls the action which produces the result. Now here we go. Here you got the baby with the paradigm, and the conscious faculties have developed. They have the ability to think. There's a power flowing into them. What are they going to think? They're going to think thoughts that are in harmony with that paradigm. That's right.
You know, for 20 years, I looked for the key which would determine what would happen to a human being. Was there a key I wanted to know which would make the future a promise that we could foretell to a large extent? Was there a key that would guarantee a person's becoming successful if he only knew about it and knew how to use it? Well, there is such a key, and I found it. Have you ever wondered why so many men work so hard and honestly without ever achieving anything in particular, and others don't seem to work hard and yet seem to get everything? They seem to have the magic touch. You've heard them say that about someone. Everything he touches turns to gold. And have you ever noticed that a man who becomes successful tends to continue to become successful? And on the other hand, have you noticed how a man who's a failure tends to continue to fail? Well, it's because of goals. Some of us have goals, some don't. People with goals succeed because they know where they're going. It's that simple. Think of a ship leaving a harbor, and think of it with the complete voyage mapped out and planned. The captain and crew know exactly where it's going and how long it'll take. It has a definite goal. Now, 9,999 times out of 10,000, it will get to where it started out to get. Now, let's take another ship, just like the first, only let's not put a crew on it or a captain at the helm. Let's give it no aiming point, no goal, no destination. We just start the engines and let it go. I think you'll agree with me that if it gets out of the harbor at all, it will either sink or wind up on some deserted beach, a derelict. It can't go anyplace because it has no destination and no guidance, and it's the same with a human being.
Because the truth is, the greatest regrets in life don't stem from the things we failed at despite our best efforts. No, our deepest regrets come from the dreams we abandoned before truly putting our all into them. From letting life's challenges, fears, and doubts derail us from reaching our full potential before we even started. So today, I'm asking you to make a decision. Will you resign yourself to a life of mediocrity, of settling, of wondering what if? Or will you commit yourself in this moment to unleashing that unstoppable force within you, that primal, unconquerable drive to dominate your life and become everything you're truly capable of? The choice is yours, but I hope you'll join me in choosing the path of domination, because that path, though arduous and fraught with obstacles, leads to the greatest rewards. The reward of knowing you gave everything you had to become the best version of yourself, of living without regrets, of joining that elite class of human beings who refuse to be defined by circumstances or doubters. The dominator class? That's where true freedom and fulfillment lie. Not in some fleeting pleasure or material possession, but in the inextinguishable fire that burns within you. The fire that, when fueled by discipline, perseverance, and an unbreakable will, allows you to rise from the ashes of setbacks as a progressively stronger, more unstoppable force. So today, here now, let's ignite that fire together. Let's fan its flames with our unrelenting belief in our ability to dominate. Let's unite in a shared struggle, lifting each other up when challenges arise, pushing each other to new heights of achievement and personal mastery. Because that's what separates the dominators from the rest. Our willingness to forgo the easy path of mediocrity in favor of the rougher, more daring road toward true, lasting greatness. It's a decision that must be renewed each day through our thoughts and actions. But it's a decision that puts us in rare company among the immortals whose names will be etched into the halls of history and whispered as inspiration to future generations.
You've got to change your paradigm if you want to change your life. Now, you can study all you want. If you don't gain an understanding how to alter that program, and that's what the paradigm is, it's a program. It's a multitude of concepts that are fixed in your subconscious mind that literally control your behavior. It's a beautiful concept to understand. It's a terrible one if you don't understand it, because it literally controls your life. Why do you think most people go right through their life and keep getting the same results year after year after year? Well, it's just the way it is, and they don't know. We should be taught this in school, but we're not. How is the paradigm formed? Through the repetition of information. How's the paradigm changed? Repetition of information. Now let's suppose you're having a difficult time with money. You find that you got more going out than coming in. You've got to change your concept about money. How do you do that? Through the repetition of an idea. That's where affirmations comes in. I'll give you one that I've been using for years. I am so happy and grateful now that money comes to me in increasing quantities through multiple sources on a continuous basis. I am so happy and grateful now that money comes to me in increasing quantities through multiple sources on a continuous basis. You don't just say that once or twice. You've got to repeat that maybe 1,000 times a day, every day for maybe 90 days. And you'll start to change your whole concept about money. Wealthy people all have multiple sources of income. Now I'm going to tell you what happened to me. I drove around with a battery-operated record player and a long-playing record. And I played it over and over again every day for probably a couple of years. This was so totally illogical. It was behavior. Everybody thought I was losing it. And I'm reading the same book every day, Think and Grow Rich. As a matter of fact, I'm still reading the same book. And it was the repetition of Earl Nightingale's information and the book that changed the paradigm. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't understand what I was doing, but I did it. You know, I had a man come up to me in the Waldorf Hotel in New York, the Waldorf Astoria, at the end of a 3-day program, and he said, "Bob, I really want to thank you for what you've just given to me." He said, "For the first time in my life, I've understood how I accomplished what I did." I said, "What did you do?" He said, "I won the gold medal in the decathlon in the Olympics in Melbourne, Australia in 1957. That's right. Milt Campbell. And he said, "I never understood how I did it." He said, "The next time you run a seminar, I want to bring my boys." And he did. Milt and I became great friends. In fact, Milt has a key to our house. He can come stay there anytime he wants. I live in Toronto, he's in New Jersey. But here was the top athlete in the world, a very best athlete in the world. He didn't understand how he got there. Most people that are very accomplished cannot tell you why they are. That's why they are. They've rewritten the program. They changed the paradigm. They might not have understood how they did it, but they did it.